So, hello. Hello, everyone. You should hear me now, but without an echo. Now? Very good. Now it's working. So, hello, everyone. Institute Français in Lithuania, Lithuanian RDI liaison office in Brussels, and this whole event is organized in the context of French presidency of European Union. And we know that one of the main goals or one of the main priorities for the French presidency is climate change and Green Deal related topics. So we're very happy to have a lot of participants here, both offline, face-to-face, and also those who are with us together online. I would like to begin and invite for the welcome speech, Dr. Romas Baronas, who is the chairman of the Research Council of Lithuania.
Good afternoon, Your Excellency, Ambassador, dear representatives of ministries, dear colleagues, dear ladies and gentlemen. It's my great pleasure and honor to welcome all of you to this collaborative Lithuanian-French conference. French institutions and scientists, we are our second largest partners in the Horizon 2020 program. In total, over 1,000 of collaborative links were developed. And in addition, the program Jalibert has built a strong basis for long-lasting relationship with French science community. Today, we are celebrating those existing collaborations and exploring new opportunities in relation to climate change issue. The transition to climate neutral society is both a challenge as well as an opportunity to build a better future for all parts of society and economic sectors need to contribute. Through research and innovation actions in Horizon Europe and mission-driven agenda, science community will create pathways to that change. I would like to thank conference organizers, Research Council and CPs, LINA office in Brussels, and French Institute led by Mr. Buffan for this event. So thank you very much for all, and I wish you all a productive afternoon. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Dr. Romas Baronas. And now for a welcome speech, I would like to invite Her Excellency, Ambassador of France and Lithuania, Alix Everard.
Thank you very much, and good afternoon to all. Dear Vice Minister, dear President, the distinguished guests, ladies and gentlemen. It's always a pleasure and honor to be here And I first want to warmly welcome, thank, of course, the Research Council of Lithuania and its partners for co-organizing this conference on this topical issue of climate change and creating opportunities, as you underlined, to bolster our cooperation within the EU on this issue. As you mentioned, climate change is one of the major challenges we are collectively facing, perhaps the main one, as it touches our very existence. And when presenting the priorities for the EU-French presidency earlier this year, President Emmanuel Macron had highlighted the green transition and the fight against climate change as one of the main priorities of our presidency, with the aim of making Europe more sovereign and more resilient in this issue, and also as part of a new growth and investment model for the EU. And as the recent report of the GIEC, which was published a few days ago, has reminded us, there's no time to lose. As you know, the EU has set up a very ambitious framework with the aim of carbon neutrality by 2050, and with the aim of reducing our greenhouse gas emissions by 55% by 2030. And we're the first continent to have set up those very ambitious goals. And to achieve this, the European Commission has proposed the Green Deal and also a very ambitious legislative package, the so-called Fit for 55 package. And our aim as EU presidency is to advance as much as possible and to achieve good progress on this package, building on the progress made by the Slovenian presidency and of course in line with the trio program with our upcoming Swedish and Czech presidency. As you also know, the international context with the Russian aggression of Ukraine has impacted the EU agenda as a whole, but also this climate agenda with the energy issue. The war in Ukraine has demonstrated, if need be, the necessity to reduce our dependency towards fossil energy sources, and in particular towards Russian fossil energy sources. And in that context, we need to accelerate our climate agenda. And this is what was agreed in Versailles at 27, beginning of March, and reconfirmed and developed at the European Council 10 days ago with a two-track approach, a very short-term one for the next winter to accelerate this reorientation and to depend less on Russian coal, petrol and gas. And as you know, today the EU should adopt sanctions on Russian coal, for an embargo on Russian coal. And the more medium term to totally reduce our strategic dependency to Russian fossil energy. And this means, of course, accelerating our energy transition. Now, as mentioned at the beginning, this transition, this green transition is a systemic one, and so it requires a global approach. And beyond the priority of this energy agenda and decarbonizing our economy, our priorities during the French presidency is also focusing on protecting the biodiversity, and forest, as you know, is an important element of that aspect, and Lithuania has a strong expertise in this. It's also about developing the circular economy. It's also about developing and ensuring the transition towards a healthy environment for fighting pollution. And so all those priorities are interlinked. I would just want to conclude with a few remarks I would like to highlight, because I've already been a bit too long. First, to say that coherence is key. We need to be coherent between our different agendas. I've mentioned the biodiversity agenda, the climate change agenda, the energy agenda. I also want to mention the commercial agenda. And in this context, we have a very specific objective within our presidency, which is the carbon border adjustment mechanism. And this is key to ensure that our industry, the transition for our industry, doesn't affect our competitiveness. Second, we need to pay attention to the social aspects of the transition. We will not be able to manage successfully the transition or fight against climate change if we haven't got the citizens, our citizens on board. So the green transition needs to be fair and just. And third, research and innovation is obviously key to tackle these issues. And the Horizon Europe program, which was launched in 2020, is instrumental in this aspect. And this is why also conferences like this one are so important. And this is also why the French presidency will organize on the 21st of April a meeting, a conference reuniting at the director levels on this topic of sustainability science, which is perfectly in line with the conference of today. I will stop here, but I want to thank you again and warmly thank the Research Council and its partners and all the participants. And I wish you a very, very fruitful exchanges on this seminal issue. Thank you for your attention.
Merci beaucoup, Ambassador. I would like now to invite the final welcome speech, which will be given by Gintarė Krušnienė. She is a Vice Minister at the Ministry of the Environment, and she is joining us through Zoom. So, Gintarė, please, the floor is yours.
Good afternoon, dear Ambassador, Dr. Baronas, dear scientists. I am sorry not being able to be present live here with you today, but nevertheless, I am grateful for the Research Council of Lithuania, the Embassy of France, and France as a presidency of the EU for organizing this event and granting me the opportunity to address such a brilliant audience at the pivotal times we are living today. So firstly, the new reality of Russia's brutal aggression in Ukraine makes it necessary to seek all possible measures to break EU dependence from Russian fossil fuels, echoing what has been said also by the ambassador, and to reduce the overall consumption of fossil fuels in the long term. Since the beginning of this week, Lithuania, together with other Baltic states, ended the imports of Russian gas, showing the example. And EU-wide decisions of Russian oil and gas should not be postponed while innocent people in Ukraine are being murdered every day. For that, we need solutions to reduce the use of fossil fuels significantly and swiftly. Also, 2 days ago, the new IPCC report on climate change mitigation was presented. It has reiterated the same message, but from a different context. The current trajectory of global emissions leads us nowhere near the agreements struck in Paris in 2015. The world must put the highest gear for climate action in order to avoid costly and irreversible consequences. For that, we need solutions to reduce the use of fossil fuels significantly and swiftly. And to achieve that, to resolve all the big and small challenges of the green transition, we need to work together with science. So the importance of science cannot be overstated. There is political will for climate action in Lithuania. Last year, our parliament updated the National Climate Change Management Strategy, committing to reduce Lithuanian greenhouse gas emissions by 70% by 2030 compared to 1990, and to reach climate neutrality by 2050. Our climate goals are also goals for our energy independence. Therefore, by 2030, we seek to have half of our electricity consumed in Lithuania to be produced locally and from renewable energy sources. 90% of our energy for central heating will be clean and renewable. 1/3 of our households will become prosumers, meaning that they consume the energy produced by their solar parks or solar on the roof themselves. We believe that green transition is an opportunity for economic development rather than a challenge. It will create economic growth, additional green jobs, better health, and better quality of life. Also, today, it is a necessity for geopolitical order and security. In this context, robust implementation of the Green Deal is more important than ever. The targets of European Green Deal will be impossible to achieve without concerted efforts of green transformation in cities. In this regard, we welcome the EU mission on climate neutral and smart cities and adaptation to climate change. It will mobilize local, regional, and national authorities, citizens, businesses, and investors to act together. Cities play a pivotal role in achieving climate neutrality. Also, they are the most vulnerable to climate change. One of our government's program actions is to have at least one climate neutral and waste-free city by 2030. We are proud that 9 Lithuanian cities responded to the EU Commission's call for climate neutral and smart cities. We expect that after assessment in April, at least several Lithuanian cities will be selected for mission to work in that direction. The work with EU missions, cooperation with other member states like France, sharing knowledge, best practices, and cooperation for innovation are the key stepping stones for success in green transition. I will end my welcome speech by saying that scientists are the frontline warriors in the combat with climate change. It is your community which invents the solution for green breakthroughs and makes the transition possible. Your work actually determines the array of alternatives that policymakers and businesses have to choose from when addressing the greatest challenges of our times. So I thank you for all your efforts, made and to be made, and I wish you fruitful discussions today and successful cooperation in the future. Thank you.
Thank you. Okay, thank you very much, Vice Minister, for a welcoming speech. And now we will go forward with the agenda. So I will shortly present it. We will have 4 parts in this event. The first part will be designated for the policy questions or more policy-related questions. The second part will be focused on education and science. And I'm especially happy about this part because 3 of the 6 presenters are coming from the Research and Technology Organization Lithuania, the organization which I'm leading myself. And in the third part, we will have a focus on NGO and citizen empowerment. And the last but not least part will be our focus will shift on business and startups. We will have both presentations online and as well here offline, but maybe in the end we should have a question and answer session. So please keep your question. If you're online, you can write them in the chat. We will get back to them if there is a time. If you are here offline, face-to-face, please mark your questions, note in your mobile phones or notebooks, and then we will get back to them as well in the end of the event or during the coffee, which will be served after that. And without further ado, I would invite, oh yes, one additional thing. We have a lot of wonderful speakers on the agenda and not too much time. That means we need to try to stick to the plan. And the plan is that we would try to stick to 7 minutes presentation. I know that might sound very scary, but let's try and hope that we will succeed. When you will be left 2 minutes, I will, if you're speaking online, will turn my microphone and just make some noise. So you would understand that 2 minutes left. And if you will be giving a presentation offline, I will wave you because I'm sitting nearby. So you would know also that, that your time is getting to the end. This is everything from me. So now I would like to invite our first speaker, Lionel Moulin, sorry if I mispronounce, but hopefully something near that. Head of Unit Research and Innovation Department from General Commission for Sustainable Development, Ministry of Ecological Transition. So please, Lionel, floor is yours.
Thank you very much, and thank you for the invitation to participate to this meeting. Maybe just a word from to let you know from where I'm talking. It's very important to put speeches in context, I think, and I'm deputy head of the Research and Innovation Department of the Ministry of Ecological Transition. The scope of this ministry is very large: transport, planning, construction, infrastructure, risk, energy, climate, biodiversity. So we'll see that it could cover a large broad of aspects about the question of today. We are responsible for conveying the ministry's concern, which are sectorial policy at the level of national research policy, which are conducted by the Ministry of Research in France. Of course, we are targeting either the organizations that produce research, as well as players who are financing them, and also we are attached to make the link between the sectorial general direction in our ministry, like energy, for instance, and the research community. We intervene at the European level with our colleague from the Ministry of Research. We have also a laboratory of activity for innovation to support the ecological transition, with actually two main actions. One is to develop the use of data in support of public policy and of public policy in the field of ecological transition, and which goes as far as development of proof of concept. And this has a lot of connection with innovation. And on the other hand, on the support of startups, which will be the subject of Mr. Spittler's speech at the end of the afternoon. You have targeting the Horizon Europe missions for this meeting in the European action. And in fact, these missions are a very relevant framework for action in the vision that we have of research as a sectoral ministry that is responsible for the conduct of several public policy. And I will come back to it at the end of my speech. But first of all, a reminder of the figure, of some figure, the emission, the emission for France are 436 million tons of equivalent carbon dioxide in 2019. So, and it is shared between the different sectors, as you see: transport 30%, agriculture and industry roughly 20%, building 17%, energy production 10%, and waste 3.6%. This is excluding forest and soil used. And you can see the trend from the year 1990. This means that we have a decrease of roughly 20% between 1990 and 2019, and much recently from 1990 to 2020, we have a decrease of 10%, but we know that we have the influence of the pandemic. In fact, these figures are in line with the carbon budget set out in one of our policy framework outlined in our national low carbon strategy. In terms of policy, in the field of energy and climate, which are very closely linked, we have several frameworks for actions that echo the European policies: a national climate change adaptation plan, a national low carbon strategy, and a multi-annual energy planning. Without going into detail of this different strategy or action plan, I just focus on the National Plan for Adaptation of Climate Change, of which this is the second edition, which finished this year, 2022. It provides for the necessary action to protect citizens and adapt all sectors of the economy, which is very important, to future climate condition while improving their resilience. As some example, we have the integration of summer comfort criteria into the regulation of new buildings. We have also the extension of the annual forest fire prevention campaign to all the metropolitan departments, which is, for instance, a very important action because some territories are discovering new risks with climate change. We have also the deployment of radars, meteor radars, to reinforce weather vigilance to the overseas territories. Or another action is the integration of the theme of climate change and adaptation into school curricula, which are very concerned about, we are very concerned about training. This general framework is actually being renewed. We have begun work on the French strategy for energy and climate, which will cover all our policies on energy and climate issues, with the aim of reducing our greenhouse gas emission in the short term and achieving carbon neutrality by 2050. This will give rise to, This will give rise to a law known as Energy Climate Programming Law, which must be adopting before July 2023. Of course, and we will, and this law will set the priorities for action of the national climate and energy policy, taking into account the increase of the European objective of reducing net greenhouse gas emission to minus 55% in 2030. And this, after this law, we'll have to renew all the action plan mentioned below: National Climate Adaptation Plan, National Low Carbon Strategy, and multi-annual energy planning. Let's know, to make the link with the European level, I would add it that the multi-annual energy program and the National Low Carbon Strategy constitute the French Integrated National Energy Climate Plan, which is used at the European level. With regard to research, no. We have a national energy research strategy with 5 guidelines for clean, safe, and efficient energy. These 5 guidelines are integration of renewable energies, energy and territories. That means working at a multi-scale level. The question of strategic resources and circular economy. Also the question of bioenergy and biochemical complexes, which a question of soil and carbon flows, and also the energy efficiency. In terms of thematic levels, the priority has been divided into main axes: energy and strategic resource saving. That's enhance the energy efficiency and reducing the resource consumptions. So we have to renew maybe new equipment, the process and the system, the regulation also, and it also concerns the mobility system. Another thing is about practices and lifestyle for the consumer, the user, and also to develop new renewable resources. A second thematic axis is the evolution of systems to diversify the energy mix. And of course, it gives a lot of research questions like the integration of renewable energy, the storage of electricity or of heat, the flexibility of the system also. And we have inside this question of the evolution of the system with a new energy mix, the new national production has to be in line with an acceptable economic cost and environmental impact. So all these questions we are waiting from the researcher at different level, fundamental research, but also innovation or startups to bring their contribution to all this research question. I think
sorry.
Yeah, I finished. Okay.
It's a little bit already out of time. If you could finish in 1 minute, that would be wonderful.
Thank you. So just, I would like to focus on this conference that was on the 10th of March of 2022, and which gave a very good view of interdisciplinary approaches and open to other subjects like public health, like also biodiversity, and which tend to see the problem of, not the problem, but the territorial level and society question, and tends to support the idea of developing living lab. That's why your approach to the mission could be very good, and we are also waiting for the results of the call about the mission 100 climate neutral city by 2030. Thank you very much.
Merci beaucoup, Lionel. Sorry again for interrupting. This is the most less nice part of being a moderator in the event. But yeah, thank you for the presentation. It was very interesting and very informative. And now, without further ado, I want to invite head of the climate policy group at the Ministry of the Environment of Lithuania, Judita Liukaitytė Kukienė. Judita, we can see you. We can see your slides. Floor is yours. Go ahead. 7 minutes. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Good afternoon, everybody. I'm happy to present you the National Climate Change Management Agenda and the steps what we are doing in Lithuania to work with the climate change. The climate is changing. It's changing everywhere, and it's changing in Lithuania too. Now the temperature rises at more than 2.2 degrees. The sea level are rising. Also, we're having step by step the hottest years in the observation history. We need to do something, and already in 2009, Lithuania has supported the EU goal to go to climate neutrality by 2050. And now our government, one of the main targets is that in 2050, Lithuania need to become climate neutral country. It's not hard, but we are doing step by step our calculations and to see how greenhouse gases we can reduce and to have climate neutral Lithuania. So first of all, we have short-term goals. So it's like 30% by 2030 to reduce greenhouse gases and later to go to the full neutrality. Also, we haven't had other goals like now we created the decarbonization groups, and we are talking with every stakeholders how to go with the measures in different sectors and to achieve the goals in 2030. Also, we are talking with the other organizations, municipal ones, and governmental, how to go in more greener way to reduce the emissions from the public sector. We have the goal to not use fossil fuels by 2045. and to have more innovations in the green jobs and in circular economy. For the decarbonization targets, we have the goal to reduce 50% of the emissions on ETS sector, which are participating in an emission trading system, and 30% of the emissions are coming from this part. But the hardest work is with sectors that are not participating in the emission system. So around 70% of all emissions are coming from here. And the hardest goals are going for the transport sector and agriculture, because they are the biggest emitters in Lithuania. In climate change management agenda, which like Vice Minister was mentioned before, we just updated it last year. We having the goals for different sectors. So the biggest goal are going for the transport sector, because till 2000.
Ar girdite mane?
Taip, girdžiu.
Pavyko. Mes jūsų skaidrį nematom, aš bandžiau prisikviesti jūs anksčiau. Gal jūs galėtumėte pakeisti dabar į tą, kurią rodote, o po to išsiųsti visiems.
O dabar matot?
Climate change implementation by sector.
Yeah. O kaip presentation dabar nesimato.
Ar girdite dabar mane?
Taip, girdžiu ir dabar nesimato presentation, kaip pristatau.
Jūs ne presentation mode ir mes matome dabar jūsų skaidrę apie climate change management by sector.
Taip, tai šita skaidrė ir yra.
Ar galite jo įjungti presentation mode, šalia kur yra tas mygtukas?
Aš buvau įjungus ir jisai kaip ir man rodo, kad aš tokiu esu.
Jūs gali būti, kad tada netai pašėrinot screeną. I'm very sorry, we're just so... Dabar matom kitą skaidrę. Ar jūs galite iš naujo pašėrinti savo screeną ir pasirinkti share screen, o ne share presentation? Judita?
Dabar gerai?
Dabar gerai, taip.
Gerai, labai atsiprašau. Sorry for the technical problems, sometimes it's happening. So I will send the presentation so you will see what I was talking before. So in the climate management agenda, we're having the targets for different sectors. And the biggest challenge will come to the transport sector because it was increasing till now. And comparing to 2019 till 2030, we need to reduce our emissions by 42%. Also, the other sector is industry, because it was increasing too, and the big challenge for them will come, and agriculture too. I will talk about only this sector, which is quite important, comparing with the missions of European Commission. So when we are talking about neutral city, we need to talk what we will have into the city. So the transport is really important. So our objective is to have more energy consumption in the transport sector by renewable energy. We need to go to the renewable energy in the public transport. We need to have more cycling and walking in the country, and to have low emission zone in the cities. So it's the big challenges, because when we are talking about the transport, we need to talk how to change all our life. Because usually it's nice to go with the car. Even a lot of people in Lithuania have all cars, more than 30. The average of the year is 16 years. And to change all the things, like to use more public transport, to go more by foot or the bicycles. Other challenge in the cities, in the municipalities, is with the agriculture, and to talk with the farmers how to use less fertilizers, how to go more in the ecological way, to produce more biogas, and to go in all this. So also is the big challenges in all this. and a lot of talks with the sector, how to go on this. And also we are having a lot of measures. For the measures, now we are updating the National Energy and Climate Plan, and it will be updated next year. We are looking for the measures which could be good for everybody and could reduce the greenhouse gases. Other parts which are really important and connected with the adaptation mission is adapting for climate change. In our national agenda, we're having the main goal to be more resilient, less vulnerable, and to have less loss and damage in the country. We're having the special targets for this, that to reduce all the loss, to save the people, all the materials and all the lives, and to predict the things that will happen. We have the special goals for every target. We're having like sectors like agriculture, which are really vulnerable, public health. But what is most important is to look for cross-sectoral things like urbanized areas, financing management, emergency management, and all these things. We need to work together with all these things. So there are a lot of work are going on, and we need to be climate neutral. We need to care about every company and to have more green energy for heating. Also, we need to care about our biodiversity, to have climate neutral cities. The food production needs to be local, and we need to protect our residents and our company. We're having the vision for 2050 in the country, and we will do everything what is from our side to achieve this. So I'm sorry one more time for the technical troubles, and that's all from my side.
Research Council in Lithuania. So please, floor is yours.
Thank you. I'm representing the Research Council of Lithuania, which hosts the national contact points for Horizon Europe. And more precisely, our team is responsible for disseminating and informing our research and not only research community, the information about the Horizon Europe, which is also designing and financing the design of the missions. The missions stand not only for research and innovation, of course. They are targeted to make the tangible impact in our society on different challenges, and so it is very good platform and basement for collaboration, for not reinventing the bicycle, for taking the opportunity of projects and research and innovation based solutions to tackle the climate change on our planet. So I am taking the opportunity to present you some information on missions. As you can see, there are 5 of them. There are 5 of them, and 4 of which are directly more or less related to climate change issues. Even 2, as you can see, have our today's keyword climate in their names. Commission designed these missions to generate concrete solutions for our great challenges, and actually this is the all in one coordinated approach. This is actually a coordinated effort for all over the European Union to pool the necessary resources in terms of funding programs, policies, and regulations, and mobilize and activate public and private actors in all EU member states, as well as engage the citizens for boost the societal uptake of solutions we are seeking for. All the missions, of course, did not born on the empty space. They're based on European Union strategies. You can see some of them related to the climate change, like European Green Deal, European Bauhaus for cities, climate adaptation strategy, and long-term vision for rural areas. So these strategies allow us to create the mission work plans and to align new funding with other programs and policies. As the missions are very broad, they have very broad scope, and so I want to present a few aspects of them. The first is research and innovation. Research and innovation part of missions. The research and innovation is the basis for the impact that missions will create till 2030. They are impact driven and build on, of course, on Horizon Europe clusters, and all the research and innovation the Horizon Europe program is funding and creating innovative solution, combining technological and social innovation. And the missions, of course, require highly interdisciplinarity consortia, and all the projects need to demonstrate to you the results of applied research and demonstrate the innovation solutions. And of course, there are much to do for social sciences and citizens to engage to reach the targets of the missions. The other aspect is involving the regions and citizens. The missions foresee the strategic engagement of member states and mobilizing the municipalities and regions in these states. They are expected to take part to actively seek the solutions for adaptation to climate and according to national priorities. The financing under the Horizon program foresees the maximum coverage on different areas. So all the actually selected regions and municipalities will be funded in every member state. The third aspect is the support, of course, the need for transformation into greener and healthier and more inclusive and resilient continent of Europe. The transformation of economic systems, the development of digital applications to combine the policy and implementation and demonstrate the ability to implement solutions. All these actions are to be funded and are to be realized under the while going to the missions solutions. Of course, the financing is also of course the financing must be foreseen under all possible instruments, all the programs, as structural funds financing, as loans from Economic and Investment Bank, European Investment Bank, and all possible synergies, because not only the Horizon is funding Horizon is funding only the small part of these transformations, of these solutions. So the need for national investments and national strategies are very, very high. Here I want to stop my presentation. Thank you.
Thank you very much, dear Viktoras Mongirdas, for your presentation and for keeping us on time. That was very helpful for me as well. And now we switch to the second part of this event, which will focus on education and science. And I'm happy to invite Pierre Sika from Laboratory Organs, who is an expert in air pollution and climate change impacts on forest ecosystem. So, Pierre, floor is yours.
Thank you. Hi, everybody. So I'm Pierre Sika. I'm a researcher in France. I'm working in Organs company, private research institute in south of France, close to Cannes. I'm expert on air pollution and climate change impacts on forest ecosystems, and deputy and coordinator of the research group on air pollution and climate change under the International Union for Forest Research Organization, and UNES expert on clean air in cities. So I present.
Just a second. Can someone who online see the slides, or do you see the folder?
No slides.
No slides. Yeah.
There are missing.
Just a second. Share screen. Screen. Link to screen. Look at this.
We cannot see whole logo.
Yes, perfect.
No? We cannot see whole logos. There are missing pictures.
Not full? Okay. So, because over here is full.
I know, but we have how to stop?
Stop. Escape. If you want to stop, escape.
Because you can see we have different logo.
Stop share.
Share screen. Share screen. Maybe choose one more time your presentation.
No, but you know the folder, if you need to share screen and then select the slide. Twice.
Yes, but why we don't have?
Maybe let's try one more time.
So
Maybe I
it's
can
the
try
problem
with my
the
flash key, no?
slides. Yeah, it's the problem with the slides, not the.
Stop share.
Yeah, so give just a moment, so because we have some problem with the slides, they're missing some of the pictures. Check it out.
Hello.
There's no.
No way.
Take a pen if you want to now.
No. How is phone? Maybe I can.
You can just turn off the thing.
Yeah, random.
Yeah.
It's the same. And also maybe I can use another one. So one moment. It's a pity. Why we don't have the same?
So what we will do?
They are missing picture and logo. So
Do you have maybe them in email or in computer?
on my computer, I
Maybe the file is broken, you know.
can check on it.
Would it be okay, Pierre? Pierre. Sorry, Pierre. Would it be okay if we give floor for another speaker? We solve the issue with the slide. Okay, okay. Okay, so let's do then accordingly. Just a second. I will turn on. Ant zoomo dabar užeikit, va čia. Zoomas, taip.
Va šitas.
Ir du kartus paspausti. Gerai. Sorry again. So now you should hear us and back. So while we will solve the issue with the slides, I would like to invite then another speaker, Professor Jurgis Staniškis. You're here, wonderful. Professor is a member of the Lithuanian Academy of Science and Professor Emeritus at Romas University of Technology, and also a member of the independent group of scientists for global sustainable development reporting in United Nations. So, Professor, the floor is yours. You also have 7 minutes, and I will show you 22 minutes.
Very good. Palaukit minutėlę. Reikia patikslinti, ar mato. Mato ar ne?
We still cannot see the
Yeah,
presentation.
just a second. Stop share. Sure.
Share screen.
There.
Lina. And then.
Here the first basket. Yep. Now we can see. Wonderful.
Thank you very much. First of all, I would say a few remarks. I fully agree with Your Excellency Ambassador conclusions which you presented recently. And secondly, being as a United Nations man, I appreciated very much yesterday the speech of French representative at United Nations Security Council. This was a very strong statement. Now, I'm coming from academic world, so as usual, I need 45 minutes for the presentation, but this time I have to be short, and I'll make this as short as possible. So I'm going to just say a few words about United Nations Independent Group of Scientists, their report, and our attitude to climate change solutions. Oh, okay. If we talk about climate change, so we always, me always have to talk about sustainable development, because sustainable development is a unique system which has no alternative for the future. And the human beings are at the center of concerns of sustainable development, and every man and woman are entitled to healthy and productive life in harmony with the nature. Oh, sorry. You know, in 2015, the United Nations General Assembly produced or announced the 2030 agenda, which was called Leaving No One Behind. And if you look at this picture, so number 13 is climate change. So please have in mind that climate change is just the only one goal of sustainable development, and this is crucial. And in 2016, member states requested the General Assembly to create an independent group of scientists in order to somehow provide the scientific background for this agenda and 17 goals, and 15 experts from the world we are invited after careful selection process to the New York to work on the report. And after and this is the group. I would like to mention that there is a very nice person from France, Jean-Paul Mohati. He is a very knowledgeable person, and he's a director of big institute in France, Institute of Development, an advisor to Macron, the president of. This is the report. You can find this report. The title is Future is Now, Science for Achieving Sustainable Development. This report you can find in any language in United Nations web page or everywhere, and many countries are translated this report in native languages. This is the key conclusion of this report, of this scientific work, that achieving a sustainable, equitable, and healthy world requires an integrated transformations approach, which addresses the all sustainable development in a comprehensive, systemic way, rather than as a collection of discrete goals and associated targets and indicators. So if you talk about climate change without approaching to the concept of sustainable development, then most probably your conclusions and actions will be, I'm sorry to say, wrong. Another very strong issue is that unsustainability reduction achieved so far is by incremental changes. Even very popular nowadays circular economy is just based on incremental changes, which doesn't lead to sustainability. And if you want to reach sustainability, we have to make transformations in all spheres of our life. Okay? What famous people say about climate change? Ban Ki-moon, former General Secretary, climate change is destroying our path to sustainability, and only sustainable development could offer the best chance to address the course. Noémie claimed, forget everything you think and know about climate change. It is not about carbon, it's about capitalism. Stop telling people the fairy tale that the climate goals are compatible with the conventional growth approach. If we will not change business as usual, forget climate change solutions. Everything is proved technically, theoretically in this book, which I just published recently, few months ago, Transformation of Business Organization Towards Sustainability. It is published in Switzerland, Springer Nature, and you can find this everywhere in the Google, for instance. Once again, climate change is just one issue in sustainability, and there is no way we can address all our challenges with technology, which I can see in many, many countries. They think that technology will solve climate change problems. No, never. Forget this. And the last slide is what we did doing in Lithuania nowadays in higher education system, because this is very important. We need high-level educated people in order to deal with climate change. First of all, Conference of Rectors issued the memorandum on climate change research and education based on system approach. This memorandum was signed by all rectors of the country, and I established a transdisciplinary group on sustainable development in Academy of Sciences. We do here a very important work together with the International Science Council. And the last, this is my personal conclusion. I think we have to be open, stating that future problems can't be solved with traditional paradigm of economic growth and reliance on technology and by specific policies to attenuate the most unethical behavior and nudge or push consumers, firms, and workers in the correct direction. It means that only calling people to behave right within wrong structures. So we need transformations of social economical system, otherwise forget about climate change and sustainable development. Thank you very much. I am sorry it's not good conclusion, but that's the life. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Thank you indeed for now this version seems okay. So I just
So thank you for a presentation and move forward. And it seems
we have
like
to.
it should work now.
It's a good question. We have
Yeah. So I don't know. So just let us check.
share screen. Then which one?
Screen.
Screen. And
Is
now
it
full
okay?
screen.
Okay. Just work.
and I can see that. Yeah, we see the full screen. Wonderful, Pia. So
Okay.
go ahead.
Yes,
Thank you.
I also can see.
Okay,
Thank you.
sorry. So, and also now I will present you one cooperation between Lithuania and France. I'm working with Judita Liukaitytė from NAMS in Kaunas in the framework of the GDPR program for cooperation for climate change. So the project Air Fresh is to evaluate the role of urban trees on air quality. So in the context is the European control strategy for the reduction of emission, mainly from road traffic, leads to a reduction of NOx, nitrogen oxides. But this strategy leads to an increase of ozone in cities and are effective in rural areas. So we observe an increase of baseline concentration of ozone in cities, and this tropospheric ozone is becoming a major health issue in cities at global scale. And it's important to highlight that climate change and air pollution are strictly interlinked. Indeed, ozone is the third greenhouse, and if you have an increase of air temperature, you have an increase of ozone in the air, because ozone is a secondary air pollutant formed by photochemistry in the atmosphere. And this increase of ozone will lead to an increase of air temperature. So it's a cycle. It's important to investigate both issues, air pollution and climate change. So in this context, we decided to find and to investigate which solution can be used to reduce the increasing ozone levels in cities. And urban trees should be an effective solution to reduce the increasing ozone levels. So, after the heat waves and air pollution peaks in Europe in summer 2019, at the beginning of September, we have plenty of planting strategies in Europe. As an expert on UNESCO clean air in cities, I inform politicians and stakeholders. It's important to have a good selection of tree species for the tree planting strategy, because if you plant anywhere, any tree species, you can observe a degradation of air quality. And so the trees are good for humans, but not all trees are good for air quality. This is an important message. After that, so the European Commission released the biodiversity strategy by 2030 with big and large planting strategies in Europe, with more than 3 billion additional trees in the European Union. So air pollution and urban heat islands are two major issues for public health, affecting citizens and well-being and health, leading to more than 500,000 deaths in the European Union. However, urban reforestation and peri-urban reforestation can help meeting clean air standards in cities. So it's a win-win solution for citizens, with a reduction of air pollution, with carbon sequestration and a regulation of air temperature, but also with social and aesthetic benefits. So we select the two front-runner cities, Kaunas in Lithuania and Aix-en-Provence in south of France, where human exposure exceeds regularly the World Health Organization protection limits for the common air pollutants, PM10, NO2, and ozone, and also affected by climate change, in particular in south of France, in Aix-en-Provence. So to efficiently reduce air pollution in city, municipalities and city planners need a quantitative and concrete assessment of the role of urban trees in affecting air quality, and a selection of good tree species for the planting strategies. So in both cases, the project Air Fresh, the bilateral project, aims to detect individual trees and provide a full tree inventory in order to quantify carefully and with a high accuracy and map the air pollution removal by capacity by urban trees, and at the end to propose a recommendation and best practice for policy of reforestation, namely, for instance, the number and type of tree species to be planted in order to attain the air quality standard in cities. So we have different action at different levels, at 3 levels, with the detection of individual tree by satellite, an estimation and mapping of ecosystem services. Ecosystem services are the services provided by the trees, for instance, the air pollution removal capacity and the air pollution deposition. and scaling up and replication activities at the end, transfer of knowledge to city planners. So first step was to calculate for different plant species the air pollution removal capacity. So for particles and gaseous air pollutants, we have a deposition on leaves, on branches, on trunk. But for the gaseous air pollutants like ozone and NO2, we have an uptake of the gaseous air pollutants through stomata. Stomata are on the leaves, and you have the exchanges of gases with the air and the atmosphere. So we have an uptake of ozone, and for each species, we can calculate the quantity of ozone formed by the release of compounds and the uptake. And we can classify the different tree species. For instance, in green, you have the most efficient tree species in Kaunas, and in red, the not recommended species. For each species, so we classify and we add cofactors such as the allergenicity and the tolerance to growth and pest disease. So in this table, you have the temperate species. For instance, in Kaunas, you have Acerpatanoids and Tilia and Fraxinus, but Fraxinus cannot be planted and recommended because the allergenicity is very high. So after that, we will map the air pollution removal capacity at city scales. For that, we need a complete and consistent tree inventory, because we have to know in cities, on average, the public trees, if we use the municipal tree inventory, we have only 20% of the total number of trees. And in this case, to avoid a large underestimation of the air pollution removal capacity, we have to know exactly the number of trees in public and private areas. So for that, we will use the very high resolution satellite images like a Pleiad at 50 centimeters of spatial resolution to detect, locate, and to define the tree species. We have a validation with the field campaigns and a quantification of the capacity of remove air pollutants. So we use the different satellite images at 50 centimeters in Kaunas and in Aix-en-Provence. So this is a main step of our approach. So first we use the municipal tree inventory, and we select at least 20 trees for dominant tree species. For each selection of trees, and for each tree, we select at least 5 points in order to extract the textural and spectral signature from satellite images. And after that, by classification, for instance, by using random forest analysis, we are able to detect trees and to define the tree species. On this map, we can also use the satellite images in order to distinct between vegetation and non-vegetation area with bulging roads using a spectral index and DVIs, normalized difference vegetation index. So on this map, you can see some examples. So we are able to detect trees in private and public area, and also to calculate the canopy cover. In this place, it's in Kaunas, so we can map the canopy cover, and we can see the different species detected by satellite, the dominant tree species in Kaunas. From all this data, we are able to calculate the annual removal capacity provided by urban trees to remove air pollutants, main air pollutants. At the end of the project, so we elaborate guidelines with this practice in order with some set of recommendations, the number and the type of trees, the tree species to be planted, and to include in local urban master plans. We think to organize one-day meeting addressed to local stakeholders in order to present our project outputs. Thank you.
Yeah. Merci beaucoup, Pierre. That was really very interesting. I think Vilnius would be of use of this technology as well. But now I would like to invite another speaker who will be joining us online. It's Rolandas Urbonas, Deputy Director of Lithuanian Energy Institute. So Rolandas, the floor is yours. When you will have 2 minutes left, I will turn on my microphone and give you a signal about that. Please go ahead.
Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. Thank you for letting present to the wider audience, let's say, a bit different perspective. What I have in mind, what we are intending and already did in Green Deal international activities. In general, who we are, I would say everybody, starting from research centers, and I would like to point out especially the three first ones who are forming Lithuanian Research and Technology Organization. Universities, industry, energy companies, municipalities, everybody is working on greener, more sustainable environment. So some words on the Lithuanian Energy Institute. Our competences are from hydrogen, renewable energy sources, till nuclear, including hydrology, material synthesis. Now the life and world and science is very much interdisciplinary. And the strategic activities and topics what we have include a lot of what is assisting and pushing us towards the green and sustainable environment and style of life. I just wanted to mention some aspects of the cities because they are the biggest pollutants. One of the European missions related to the cities, climate neutral and smart cities mission, it is stated that 100 such type of cities should be by 2030. Also, it is very much in line what is said by the government of the Republic of Lithuania. At least one city or municipality neutral and wasteless till 2030. Also, there are discussions from the RRF funds on 3 national missions, and let's hope that one of them will be devoted to the Green Deal related mission, so which will top up the our activities in green environment. An example how we are working and are we interested in those activities. Probably at least some of you know that by the 31st of January of this year was a deadline for the municipalities to express their willingness to go for smart cities, clean cities. So in general, in total, European Commission announced 362 cities that they were eligible. Now in Lithuania, we have 26 cities, towns, because the level is lower because of the population who were eligible to submit those expressions of interest. So 1/3 of towns and cities are and were interested. So you can see the list of them from our capital till rather small towns. That means the interest is in municipalities. The science, the politicians should have that in mind. Also, Lithuania is one of the clean energy transition activity participants, one of the first calls in Horizon Europe with a budget of approximately 3.5 million euros. So that also could be used in near future for projects to have some solutions. Coming calls in the batch of year 2021 and 2022. So at least some possibilities we have, and soon we will have the work program for the following, for the next 2 years. there are a lot of possibilities to go forward. Also, Lithuania probably has one of the least number of innovation actions, demonstration sites in the previous program in Horizon 2020. So the wish is to push all stakeholders to be united, to have as many those demo sites as possible here in Lithuania, to show, not only to tell from the experience of other countries, but to show how does it work and see that it would work and it would be multiplied much more. So in some sense, I'm repeating myself, but we are working all together. Research institutions, universities, ministries and agencies, NGOs, academia, so all together towards that purpose. On one hand, I would love to that it would be like this, but even in reality, there is much more collaboration now than it was 5 years ago. So we have to use that as our opportunity. Thank you very much. I believe and hope the slides will be shared. So if you will see the necessity to ask for more information, for contacts, etc., so my contacts are here. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Rolandas, for keeping it very precise and very brief as well. And now I would like to invite Saulius Mickevičius, who is Dean of Faculty of Natural Sciences at Vytautas Magnus University. Yes, Saulius, the floor is yours. Just a second, we will share the...
There is still no presentation online. You cannot see it.
Yes, just a second.
Yes, thank you.
Yep.
Great, perfect.
Thank you.
Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. Nice to meet you in this meeting. And now I would like to tell about impact of anthropogenic environmental change and climate change on living organisms, and about research which is done in the Faculty of Natural Sciences in Vytautas Magnus University. In our faculty, we have several research priorities groups. They are working in different research areas in life sciences, in natural sciences, but two of the research groups are working directly with climate change. It is a group which are working on effect of anthropogenic environmental changes in climate to alive organisms, and another one group, it's working on applications of innovation technologies to the research on health risks raised by climate change and environmental pollution. So I shortly present the works to you. First of all, the first one group focuses on the investigation and evaluation of organisms' response to the impact of anthropogenic and natural factors on changes in productivity, structure, and biological diversity of populations and biological communities, and assessment of different economic branches to grade the ecological efficiency and sustainability possibilities. And another one group is working on aims to offer a modern environment equality monitoring tool to monitor changes in ecosystems, to assess changes in genetic structure of populations, and
the diseases which arise from the climate change. And the few main research areas which we are covering, it is climate change, direct and indirect impact on living organisms like plants and animals, assessment and forecast of the effects of climate change on plant phenology, climate change effects on the environmental distribution and toxicity of chemical pollutants, contaminated science remediation efficiency and underlying mechanism changes under climate change, determinants, climate change concept, responsibility of climate-friendly behavior and the impact of climate change mitigation and analysis of the main trends factors of greenhouse emission and climate change impact on cultural heritage. And one very important thing related with the diseases, it's vector-borne pathogen transmission and how it's affected by the climate changes. We have a few related projects. It is some of them. It is projects financed by National Research Program Sustainability of Agroforest and Water Ecosystems by Research Council of Lithuania, and another some projects who are funded by Erasmus K2 plus K2 Action. It is projects related with professional courses of preservation and conservation from climate change influences on the built cultural heritage. And now I would like to turn my focus on vector-borne pathogens transmission, because we have a quite big problem in Lithuania related with encephalitis, with Lyme disease and other diseases which are coming from ticks and which is called tick-borne diseases. If we have wild animals like pets, also if we have livestock, and through the different vectors like ticks, mosquitoes, and others, they are going to humans and to other uninfected domestic and wild animals. And if we're talking who are vectors, vectors are organisms that transmit pathogens and parasites from one infected person or animal to another, causing serious diseases in human populations. And vector-borne diseases, it's account for 17% of the estimated global burden of all infectious diseases. And of course, the most deadly vector-borne disease is malaria, which caused an estimated more than 600,000 deaths. But if we're talking about the tick-borne infections of vertebrate animals and from the domestic animals, we have about 10 more kinds of that diseases which are dangerous from domestic animals and livestock. And how the climate change affects of the spread of pathogens. It is direct effects of climate change on vector-borne diseases, because the areas which was not usually covered by ticks, like the northern part of Europe, now the ticks and tick-borne diseases are going in the northern part of Europe more and more, and migrating bats also taking diseases from one place to another. Modern agriculture changes the life way of wild animals, and of course style of farming, and increasing importation of vectors of pathogens during the people migration, and increase the human migration. It's also one of the facts why that vector-borne diseases are becoming more popular. So as I have 1 minute for my presentation, so I would like to mention about some postdocs which we have in our faculty related on the topics. At the present moment, we have 2 of them. One topic is phytoremediation potential of Brazilian apples under changing climate conditions, and another one, climate change effects on the antimicrobials, ecotoxicity of the earthworm, essential fedita. So thank you for your attention, and I will be happy to have a more detailed conversations to you after.
Thank you very much, Solus, for your presentation. Now I would like to invite another speaker who will join us online, Judita Liukaitytė, who is a head of an environment unit at Center for Physical Sciences and Technology. Nice to see you. Judita, you have 7 minutes for a presentation. When you be left 2 minutes, I will turn on my microphone and give you a signal about that. But now the floor is yours. We can see your slide full screen. Wonderful. Go ahead.
So good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen, colleagues and representatives. I'm very pleased to present today our scientific priorities regarding environmental research and climate change in Center for Physical Science and Technologies. First, I'm going to present the main field of research, then I will share with you some results, and finally I will highlight future research challenges for possible collaboration. So our main competence is aerosol science, because aerosol is exciting research topic, not only because it's obvious importance to society health, but also because aerosol research draw on many branches of different sciences, for example, engineering sciences, physics, chemistry, of course, environmental economy, for example. Now it's very important, taxonomy, and as well pharmacy and many others. And in this picture, you can see our fields where we are working in our departments. So it's highlighted in green, and it's large field and area for possible collaboration. So what does aerosol mean? Aerosol, of course, is a suspension of liquid or solid particles in gas or air, and it can be natural or anthropogenic. And if you right now just take a deep breath, definitely you would inhale thousands of aerosol particles. Some of them will be natural, but mostly in the cities is anthropogenic. So breathing in particle pollution can be harmful to your health, and the size of particulate matter will determine where it will end up once you are breathed in. And for example, if coarse, bigger particles called PM10 or PM2.5 can only irritate your eyes, nose, or throat, aerosol particles which are small, up to 1 micrometer, are mostly dangerous because they can get deep in your lungs and even penetrate to blood system and circulating. So in this picture, you can see how to go to your blood system. It is known that today half of the world population live in cities, and the trend is expected to continue. And by 2050, 7 of 10 people will live in cities. That means that most on them will be exposed to high air pollution. So nowadays, about 90 of global citizens live in areas that exceed the safe level by the new provided World Health Organization air quality guidelines. That's why current challenge in environmental research is air pollution source apportionment. And our Department of Environmental Research is involved in creating and developing assessment methods and technologies for characterization of the impact of industry, transport, and energy sectors on the environmental by combining different scientific methods of investigation of physical and chemical aspects of aerosol particle formation. So air pollution continues to have significant impacts on our health in world population, and air pollution in cities come from different sources. So in this picture, you can see the main anthropogenic and natural sources. So like I told before, our main challenge now is source apportionment of air pollution. So for building an effective air pollution control plan, it's very important to know the contribution of sources for particulate matter or aerosol mass or number concentration. And I will briefly present source apportionment methodologies based on aerosol composition and properties of aerosol particles. Because in our department, we have deployed multiple aerosol measurements instruments in order to evaluate the different properties of particles and based on them perform source apportionment. So the composition of aerosol particles must be fully disclosed and emissions of particles must be controlled in their origin. In this picture, you can see two components based on which we can disclose the main sources which make impact on aerosol formation in cities. That's so-called organic carbon or organic aerosol particles and black carbon. So mainly we can provide source apportionment based on mass spectrometry and, organic carbon and black carbon having potentially significant impact not only on climate change, but of course on air pollution and health. And knowledge of sources is crucial to mitigate PM1 levels. So for organic aerosol source apportionment, we're using positive matrix factorization based on high resolution organic aerosol data, which is often used to determine the sources. In this picture, you can see the 5 main sources, for example, local organic, semi-volatile, low volatile, biomass burning, or hydrogen-like organic aerosol particles, which represent the traffic emissions. And for black carbon, based on idle-emitter model, we can provide which part of black carbon came to the air from wood burning and from transport. So for now, for example, for cold season, up to 70 or 80% come from wood burning of aerosol particles, wood burning, sorry. So to create a sustainable living environmental, cities must start to adopt green and smart transport and infrastructure policies, but of course, we need to take into account that people get peak exposure to aerosol particles by cycling. And in Lithuania, for first time, mobile measurements was conducted to evaluate exposure to air pollution next to the major roads and just in different areas of Vilnius. And what we get, so that urban black carbon.
1 minute
Yes,
left.
yes, okay, thank you. That urban black carbon or soot reached more than 20 times of background level in comparison with our marine environmental. So, like I told before, by providing infrastructure, we need to consider pollution. As well, we are starting new field for research is microplastic, and now we're developing just microplastic ecosystem interaction, and as well developing inter-subband devices for microplastic detection. As well, we are developing different devices, and one of them is mercury device, which took part in different researchers in different groups from Arctic to Taiwan Island, Portugal, Poland, and many, many others. So, and my last slide is providing information on our possible collaboration. Thank you very much for your attention.
Thank you very much, Stigvila, for the presentation. Now I would like to invite Dr. Valda Raminienė, who is coming from Lithuanian Research Center for Agriculture and Forestry. Dear Valda, just a second, we will take it to share.
Good afternoon. Today I want to present about collaboration possibilities in our research field. So I entitled my presentation Climate Change Research in Field of Agro and Forest Review and Future Collaboration Possibilities. So who we are and what is possibilities for collaboration. Our Lithuanian Agriculture Center, in short title LAMS, is big center which spread in all Lithuania territory, have different branches, but the main research fields are forestry, horticulture, and agriculture. We discussed before this event about research in the field of climate change. So the conclusion is that almost all research in our center is under climate change thematic, because when we work with forest plants and agro and horticulture plants, we should care about the technologies, how to grow it in changing climate conditions. So it is always very, we should keep in mind. So the main research field of our center is plant science, forestry, harmful organism, plant breeding. Very important is publication, and the most important, of course, is project and collaboration for our center and our research. I will show a map. In this map, you can see our partners, the network of countries where we have collaborations, and it covers almost all Europe. In more detail about international projects, We have a 19 Horizon 2020 program project, 3 Interreg projects, 2 Life program projects, and 3 Baltic Research Program projects. And here I try to put the main research activities of center. So I will read it. Research into soil physical, chemical, and biological characteristics and plant nutrient processes and accelerating way regulation. Research into agriculture and forest plant genetics, biotechnology, physiology, and biochemistry plant breeding. Research into agriculture and forestry plant biology regulation, modeling, and agrobiological systems. Research in agriculture and forestry crops, microbiological, physical, pathogens control. Also modeling and optimization of agriculture and forest plants, products, processing, process and store methods. Research into sustainability of agro and forest ecosystems under changing climate conditions. Research into agriculture, horticulture, and silviculture systems, investigating of social and economic problems. In the next slide is some details about experiments and research in forestry area. So in forestry area, the main goals are investigation of a natural forest regeneration, for establishing the ecological forestry system. Second goal is forest health monitoring, impact of air pollution on forest vegetation, impact of ground level ozone and other air pollutants, forest carbon sequestration. And the fourth goal is research on forest resources and economic efficiently of fair usage. Thank you very much for your attention, and all time you can visit our website and contact. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you very much, Valda, for keeping us on time again. Wonderful. We're back on track. And now we are switching to our third part, which will focus more on NGO and citizen engagement. We will have 3 presentations in this part. And the first presentation will be given for us by Cécile Duranton from Time for Planet. Online, yes, but do we have it here online? I do not see here.
No, it seems that there are no online now.
She's not online now, yes?
Yes.
Okay, so probably let's do that then. Yulia, if she connects, please give me a message through the Zoom.
Yes.
And
good.
now we just can move forward and then invite another speaker. Maybe Cecile has some connection issues. So another speaker is Rasa Tomaševičiūtė from Association of Lithuanian Young Researchers.
Yeah, it's Society of Young Researchers, actually.
Oh yeah, wonderful. Absolutely. Yeah. So hello, Rasa, and you will have 7 minutes as well.
Okay, great. Amazing.
Yes. Okay, but share screen. Okay, we can see the slide, so please go ahead, Asa.
Bonjour, Madame et Monsieur. Good day, ladies and gentlemen. I'm happy to present my work today. My name is Rasa Tomashevičiūtė, and today I represent the Lithuanian Society of Young Researchers. Lithuanian Society of Young Researchers is an independent, non-political, non-profit union uniting and representing Lithuanian young scientists up to 36 years old. The main goal of the union is to improve the working environment for young scientists in Lithuania by contributing to the improvement of the Lithuanian education and science system. Another priority of the union is to promote interest in science among the public and especially among young people. The union communicates and cooperates with other public organizations, movements, and public institutions. So, we found a problem that there is a lack of some scientific information in public domain. So in the 2020s, I became an ambassador of the European Climate Pact. And in the end of 2020, I founded the working group on climate change mitigation and adaptation, whose main activities are dissemination events to spread as widely as possible the work of young scientists in the field of climate change, both mitigation and adaptation, but not calculation, sending letters to relevant ministries and parliamentary committees to share our knowledge and advice on the most suitable solutions, finding the most appropriate formats for the formation of new scientific teams. So, what have we done in 2021? 4 dissemination events organized independently. Key point was to present European Climate Pact and Lithuanian scientists' practical work in this field. The most popular events were related to agriculture and were followed by the most positive reviews. Currently, the Ministry of Environment has initiated some kind of decarbonization meetings, which are prepared on the basis of the Lithuanian Society of Young Researchers events and the type of cooperation proposed. Of course, working group on climate change mitigation and adaptation from Lithuanian Society of Young Researchers will have implemented much better, because the project currently being implemented by the Ministry of Environment is quite stagnant due to excessive politicization and the inability to maintain the principle of the supremacy of science. Workshops on the European Climate Pact organized together with Vilnius City Municipality. It was also a 4 in total. Green zones, green transport, green buildings, and skills for the green economy. During the workshops, young people from 18 till 25 years old were introduced to the European Climate Pact and how our everyday choices would lead to changes that would improve the way we live our lives, move around, cool or heat our homes, and the way we produce and consume. After the workshops and with the consent of the participants to include them, communication groups have been created where participants can share their experiences, future events, and opportunities for collaboration. Think tank for green ideas. The insights are based on the action of suitably qualified individuals who are candidates for or already hold PhDs and are top experts in their field. 2 letters have been drafted and sent out. Future work. We aim to initiate projects to create a network of young Climate Pact ambassadors together with Vilnius City Municipality. We want to show which jobs are directly related to the implementation of the Climate Pact in urban structures and allow young people to test themselves in these works. Did you know that there is a special person in the city who measures the thickness of the tree trunks? I didn't know either. The IPCC report was realized on Monday, outlining solutions to mitigate and adapt to climate change. One of the solutions, another way of production and consumption. We told the standardization of packaging materials will be beneficial. We invite you to include the standardization foreseen in the scheme in the renewal of the Packaging and Packaging Waste Directive. This will help Europe to reduce the amount of imported rough materials used, strengthening independence from unfriendly regimes, reduce energy consumption, and create more jobs in the circular economy. All this will allow us to reduce greenhouse gas emissions and implement climate change mitigation and to be more resilient in the current geopolitical situation. We invite you to join us and help to realize the vision of packaging standardization system, the vision of a functioning ecosystem. Our future is in our hands. And please stop oil and gas from Russia. It's not only a war crime, it's as well a climate crime. Thank you.
Thank you, Rasa, very much for the presentation and as well some call to action, which is very important in these times as well. And I got the message that we have Cécile Duranton online with us. Wonderful, yeah, I see you, Cécile. So, hello. Yeah, nice to see you. Then it will be forward to you. So Cécile Duranton from Time for the Planet. Cécile, you have 7 minutes. When you will be left 2 minutes, I will turn on the microphone and give you a signal about that. But now, floor is yours. Let's try to share the screen. Probably will be with the slides and see if that works.
Okay, so I'm the one sharing the screen, right?
Yeah.
Okay, so let me see if it's working. All right. Wait a minute. Oops, sorry. Oops. Right. Normally should be working in a minute. So just let me know if you can see my screen just to be sure.
It's turning on. Now we can see your presentation in the Docs Google. It seems to be loading, I think.
Yeah, it's loading. So hopefully we'll.
Now we see the first slide, but not the
okay, should be full screen now. Is it good?
Almost loading. Let's wait for a second, and then I will say when we see the picture of your slides.
Okay, perfect. Thank you. So maybe while it...
Yeah,
oh,
already. Go ahead, 7 minutes.
Perfect, thank you. So thank you, everyone. It's very nice to be with you. So I'm going to talk about Time for the Planet. So Time for the Planet, basically what we do, our mission is to fight climate change through companies. And so our vision is that we can act quickly, globally, and radically thanks to entrepreneurship. So the way we do it, basically what we know, it's today we have a lot of innovators that already have solutions for climate change to reduce our greenhouse gases emissions. But most of them, they are not entrepreneurs, they are not able to have a business model. So what we do, we find these innovators, we have these innovators that will submit the innovations to Time for the Planet, and we match them with entrepreneurs. And so we know a lot of entrepreneurs today want to give more meaning to what they do. And they really want to participate in the fight against climate change, but they don't have the capacity of these innovators to create innovations. And these two worlds, they don't speak most of the time. It's people that don't know each other. And if we can match them, actually a lot of solutions, we will be able to deploy them globally. And the third thing we need once we have innovations and entrepreneurs, it's funds. So we need to inject money to accelerate the deployment of these companies. And so that's really the goal of Time for the Planet, to detect and finance innovations, match the innovators with entrepreneurs, and inject funds to accelerate the deployment. We are only working with innovations that are targeting greenhouse gases on a global scale. One thing that is really important for the way we find our funds, it's Time for the Planet belongs to everyone, as does hers. We are all concerned by climate change. It's a problem that we all need to fight all together. And so one of the things that was really important, one of the core values of Time for the Planet, is that anyone can be part of the adventure. So any citizens, any companies, any funds, banks, anyone really can become a shareholder of Time for the Planet. And that's the way we raise money to have people joining Time for the Planet and become a shareholder. So our goal today is to create 100 companies. We already started with 3 companies. And what we want to do is not only create companies, but make sure that we succeed every time. And that the innovation we are going to finance, we will be sure that the world will benefit from them. It's really important because we don't have time to lose anymore. So we will do more than creating 100 companies. We will create 100 markets, and that's thanks to open source. So the model of Time for the Planet is to give all our innovations in an open source model. We will use free license. And the goal is each time we decide to finance an innovation and we start a company, we will also have hundreds of other companies copying and improving the innovation all over the world. And this way, we are sure that even if for some reason, if you are an entrepreneur or you know entrepreneurs, you can fail for a company. So even if we fail with our company, the innovation will still be deployed in the world because other entrepreneurs will grab these innovations and make a business with it. And also it means that everyone is improving the innovation at the same time. One of the obligations of the free license is to share any improvement that is done. So this way we really cooperate all together around the world to deploy these innovations and make them better. Now, another core value of Time for the Planet is we are a non-profit commercial company. We are a company, a commercial company, but we are non-profit. So why did we decide to do that? It's because we consider that today we don't have time, and all the funds we have, they must be for deploying innovations that will fight climate change. So the way it works, it's our shareholders, the citizens, companies, etc., that decide to be shareholders. They will not get any financial dividends. They will get a measure of the impact of the investment in terms of CO2 equivalent, but they will not get financial dividend. And we do that so you have the initial fund that comes from the shareholders. From that, we will create companies. These companies, they are profitable economically, and so they will generate profit, and a part of this profit will come back to Time for the Planet. And instead of using this profit to give financial dividends to our shareholder, we will use all this profit to reinvest it in other companies. So this way, when you put your money in Time for the Planet, you will have the money working all the time. It will always be working to create more innovations and to fight climate change. We have a lot of innovations that comes, and I told you at the beginning that we target innovations that will reduce or capture greenhouse gases, and we have a specific selection process to go as fast as possible. We have 4 steps in our process. The first one is a pre-selection. We rely on collective intelligence. So we have a group of assessors who are citizens, so it can be you or anyone that you know, and we train them on our 6 criteria so they can assess the potential of the innovation. And thanks to that, if we have at least 50% that assess the same innovation, we will have, with the same level of information, the same result as one expert. And it allows us to go way faster. We have more than 5,000 assessors trained already, and we are training always more each week. The second step for the innovations that are the top of the pre-selection, they will go to our scientific committee to have a technical analysis by 14 experts that are from different fields. We have agriculture, construction, energy, etc. And this person, they will meet together once every trimester, and they will have to decide if they validate or not the innovation. Once they have done that, we will go through market validation. So we will have market tests. So basically, it's really to go to see potential clients and to see if we could have a business model that is working, that we have people willing to buy our innovation. And finally, we have a final decision where all shareholders, anyone that decided to invest in Time for the Planet, will validate or not the investment we suggest. And they will have all the information from the scientific committee and the market test.
You have 1 minute left.
Perfect. So thank you. So we have criteria. Of course, the impact, one criteria I would like to talk about is externalities. Even if we are focusing on climate change, it's important to have other criteria such as biodiversity that we take in account. And also we want a solution that is replicable in all the world. That's our scientific committee, but I will go fast on this. And finally, very quickly, I will talk about climate dividends. That's the way we measure our impact. So one climate dividend is 1 ton of CO2 reduced or captured, and that's what our shareholder gets. As shareholder, it's not financial dividend, but it's climate dividend. And we are working to make this a global standard. So we are working with people as the United Nations, as Gold Standard, KPMG, to make it a global standard for finance, because we believe to be able to have the ecological transition, we need the finance to go to the transition. So that's about it. For how to participate, very quickly, you can become a shareholder directly on our website. Anyone can become a shareholder. It's a 2-minute process, and you just have to connect on our website and you will find all the information. And we have a community of people helping us. So anyone who wants to help Time for the Planet grow can participate to our community. And same, you can find all the information on the website. And it's called the Galaxy of Action, but I will not enter in detail right now because it will be too long. That's it. Just quickly, we raised nearly 9 million today. We have 44,000 shareholders. We selected already 3 innovations that we finance. I will not have the time to go through the innovations, but if you have any question after, I will be happy to answer what type of innovation we already finance. And I think that's about it for today. It's quite fast to tell you all in 7 minutes. So if you have questions later, I will be happy to answer you.
Merci beaucoup, Cécile, for a very interesting presentation. I really like the names of comet leaders and works and all that stuff. That's, I think, really nice. But now we need to move forward for our last presentation in the part 3, which will be done by Gediminas Kondrackis from Active Youth Association. So Gediminas, just let me check. And you have 7 minutes as well. Go ahead.
So hi everyone, dear ladies and gentlemen. Thanks for a chance to speak here today. I'm gonna present how do our organization, our efforts in pushing towards sustainability at a grassroots level. I know it sounds all fancy, but I'll try to keep it simple and fast, and maybe not that scientific. So I want you to take a look at this pie chart. It's a share of organizations who actually, or businesses who actually have a climate footprint. That is 100%. And we are not just talking about industry. It's also NGOs, institutes, small businesses, big corps, whatever you mentioned. Everyone. Though when we talk about organizations that talk about sustainability, it's obviously less than 100%. You can take a look at the pie chart over here. And the good news is that share is growing. We might talk about different reasons about it, but it's a good trend. Now, there are even less organizations that do something about sustainability. And I'd say it's much less than 100%. These are usually businesses or organizations that are run by staff who care, or who have clients who care. And I wish that more organizations would be like that. Now, when we look at that smaller part, there is also even less organizations who know what is their impact, what is their actual impact, and who know what to do to be actually sustainable. And I'd say it's much, much less than 100%. Now, usually these are businesses or organizations that, once again, are run by staff or who have clients who care and who have lots of resources. So we are talking about big corps that care. For example, you can think about Microsoft or Trafi, and I have nothing against those corps. They are something to follow. Now, our goal as a youth association, as an organization, is to make sure that not only big corps that care and have resources are able to know what is their impact and know how to be sustainable. So taking a look at this pie chart, we want to expand that small share of organizations further into that empty pie that you can see. Now, how do we go about it? How do we do it? It's very super simple here, providing simple step-by-step guides to estimate, reduce, and report impact that can be usable by pretty much anyone. Now, of course, making them super simple lowers their accuracy. So perhaps those, when we use our guides and count the CO2 of, for example, small organizations, the accuracy is much lower than, not much lower, but somewhat lower than we would employ all the complex processes by institutes, whatever. But by lowering accuracy, we also push down the costs and complexity quite a lot. And I know a lot of you are from the scientific community and you might not want to sacrifice accuracy, but we think that low cost and low complexity is better in this case. Now, I'll give an example about this conference. For example, to estimate CO2 emissions of this event, we would just need to calculate transport, energy, and accommodation. Three very simple factors. Talking about transport, I'll just take my example. I was traveling from Kaunas with a train today, and I'll assume that every one of us did the same. Talking about energy, it's very simple. This room, I think it's heated, so it's 0.6 kilograms of CO2 per hour per participant. And talking about accommodation, I'm sure there are some French participants who might need accommodation because of this event. It's 20 kilos per participant per night. And once we add that all up, I came up to a number of around 240 kilograms of CO2 just for this event. So even an event like this has an impact. Now, those numbers are not 100% accurate, might be about 90% accurate, but still we can get quite a good number. And that 240K is about, let's say, one tree that needs to be planted to offset our climate impact. And the point is that a simple Excel sheet or an online calculator can give you a pretty good idea of what's the climate impact of anything that you do, basically, events, office activities, etc. Now, we as an organization, we try to lead this by example. We are Active Youth for Tvariau.lt. We are NGO with perennially low resources. That is, we don't have many resources. Still, every month we are issuing a climate impact report, which covers all of our travels and all of our events. And just as a comparison, I think last year in Lithuania, not a single politician and not a single government organization issued a climate impact report. I'm not sure about the scientific sector, but it's also not shining. That's a little example of how it looks like. Our climate impact report, we try to make it simple as well. And as I said, we are an NGO, but our impact is quite significant. So it runs quite contrary to the fact that a lot of people think that, hey, these big industrial companies have massive impacts. No, we all do have impact on the climate, and it's by definition negative. What do we do about it? Well, first of all, we count the impact. Then we try to reduce it. We try to offset what's remaining. We are employing a formula that one tree is about 10 kilos of absorbed CO2 per year. It's also an approximation, and must be reported, which is super important. And looking to the future, there's an organization here planning to launch a climate museum here in the Baltics. It's going to visit 10 cities in Lithuania and Latvia, and hopefully reach over 100,000 kids. Now, surely it will have a climate impact itself, but we want to lead by an example, and we're going to report its CO2 estimated and reduce it as much as possible, and basically try to change how we organize events over here in the Baltics. So this is our little push towards sustainability at a grassroots level. Thank you so much. Let's keep it simple. You can find our guides at tvariau.lt and learn about the Climate Museum at klimatomuziejus.lt. Thank you so much.
Wonderful. Thank you very much, Gediminas, for fresh perspective. I'm already Googled the page and looking forward to organizing other events more sustainably. And now this is we came to the last part of our event, which will focus on business and startups. And first of all, I would like to invite Benoit Spittler from Ecologic. I hopefully pronounced that understandably. From Ministry of Ecological Transition.
Do you have my presentation? Yes, all right. Thank you. Thank you.
You need to upload the presentation.
Can you use my? You have my presentation?
We will have your word.
Ah, yes, I have my presentation too.
In PowerPoint?
Yes.
In just a second.
In PDF. But
so, dear online watchers, give us a minute. We will upload the presentation and.
Yes. All right. Fine. That's it.
Okay.
Just a second.
Yes.
Screen sharing.
Yes.
Screen share. Screen.
Yeah.
This one
is
one full page.
Fine.
Is it okay?
Okay. I am happy to speak to you about the French, the system put in France at French level to improve our resilience to climate change, and especially the role of startups and innovation in that field. Just the pandemic over the past 2 years and the latest intergovernmental panel on climate change reports, and even the last conflict in Ukraine have brought us into a succession of unprecedented crises over the last 50 years. They reminded us how much these issues of sovereignty and resilience are important. They are concern for authorities at all levels, local, national, and European. However, in the second part of the Intergovernmental Panel on Climate Change reports, there is a very important issue that is dealt with. It means improve of our resilience on climate change. And this especially in fields of, I will go later. I want, Lionel Moulin spoke about our organization in the Ministry for Environment, so I will go directly to the point. These IPCC reports spoke about the need of innovation in many fields, agriculture, sector, water, transport, infrastructure, energy, communication within the territories. For the implementation of this innovation at the heart of civil society, innovation play a crucial role. In France, these innovation have been was restarted in 2020 by our Minister Barbara Pompili first, and then our Secretary for State for Digital Transition and Electronic Communication, Cédric O. So they support the development of these green tech ecosystems. It means by opening data with hackathon, data session, and so on, with the public requirements, with meeting with local authority to develop the use of innovation, with artificial intelligence in energy consumption, reduction of energy, process improvements, and this develops the use of these innovation territories through incubator networks that we developed. Just a few points in 4 sectors. In sectors of agriculture, there are startups have developed, for example, use of innovation with the development of biological stimulants that to enrich the soils and reduce the use of fertilizer, or by developing for image processing algorithm and the use of laser beams to destroy feeds, for example. In other fields like energy, startups like Dualsun have developed contributes to the decarbonization of activities where thermal and photovoltaic solar collectors. Some startups are working in climate change fields. For example, Kista developed mosquito vacuum cleaners that avoid to find against mosquitoes with pesticides. In work of in the field of transport, for example, some startups have developed what we call the retrofit of vehicles. It means transformation of thermal vehicle to electric vehicles. That startups like Phoenix Mobility or Moto. So there are a lot of innovation that are used to improve our transition, ecological transition in France. And in conclusion of my speech, I would thank you for inviting us first, and giving us the opportunity to give you of some examples of use of green tech innovation, and that they are important to this link between research and then applications, and then the use in direct use with citizens is very important. The innovation public policy of ecological transition is supported by our major recovery plans. It will make increasing contribution for the ecological transition and the economic and ecological attractiveness in France, but not only in France. I think that the same is in way in each European countries. Yeah. We have some papers, if you want, about it. I can give you and let you.
Okay.
Thanks.
Thank you. Thank you very much. Thank you. Thank you very much. I will read that afterwards. I need to moderate the conference, and we have a final presentation, which will be given by 3 people. Yeah. Okay. So Mantas Kubežius, Alfreda Kasulienė, and Žygimantas Kidikas from Biovala. Will you present alone, or?
I will present alone.
Alone, wonderful. So
And they will
probably
support me
you're
from the back.
Alfreda.
Yes, you guessed correctly. I don't know how did you guess, but you guessed correctly.
Wonderful. So Alfreda, you have 7 minutes, and yeah, just a second. I will check as well if the full screen works. Yeah, full screen, wonderful.
Yeah, thank you.
Go ahead.
Hello. Thank you for having us here. My name is Alfreda, and I have my 2 colleagues, Mantas and Žygimantas, sitting over there. And I represent a startup company called Biovala. And initially, we were invited to give a presentation on corporate social responsibility, but in the program it says startup activity presentation. But I will tell you everything on its time. So first of all, let me present Biovala and what we do. So it's an innovative and private equity-based, science-based biotechnology company. We were started as a startup, and our main goal is to improve quality of the environment. And we provide consultations on environmental improvement and offer products and services to solve environmental problems. And Biovala was the first company that offered phytoremediation as a commercial solution. And I will talk more about phytoremediation in my presentation. And first of all, sorry that I start from very long history, but I will explain what phytoremediation is. It is comprised of 2 words of Greek phyto for plant and the Latin word remedium for restoring balance. So in phytoremediation, plants are used to extract or remove pollutants or lower their mobility in contaminated soil. It can also be used for other media like water, air, and sediments, but I will mainly focus on contaminated soil. And the technology is, well, the principle of phytoremediation is as old as the world, but as technology, it emerged maybe some 30, 40 years ago, and it can be used as a finishing touch to after other conventional technologies to clean the soil, or it can be used alone. Main advantages of phytoremediation are cost effectiveness, social acceptance, and non-destructiveness, or being not invasive to the ecosystem. And the main function of phytoremediation is to restore soil's health and vitality. The main challenges are limitations due to the depth that can be occupied by the roots from which the contaminants can be taken, then time consumption, and that contaminated plant biomass requires specific and safe disposal. So the disposal of the contaminated or potentially contaminated biomass for a long while was considered as one of the main drawbacks. And that's why the phytoremediation was sort of not commercialized or not seen as a real technology. On the other hand, in our fast-moving world, what was seen as challenges some years ago, a decade ago, now can be seen an opportunity. And we already know there are a lot of scientific proof and scaled up technologies that contaminated biomass can be used as a source for green energy, for example, as a fertilizer, or for phytomining purposes. And of course, here I mentioned everything in a brief notice, and everything has its own limitations and preferences. So if you are interested, come to us after the coffee break. We will be glad to expand more on it. And after this, I want to turn to this. I want to turn my presentation towards corporate social responsibility. And when we were invited to give this presentation by the Lithuanian Research Council, we thought, why us? Why do you need us? We are not dealing with that, and we really don't know what to say. But then when I was preparing this presentation, I went to the internet and just Googled it and searched for the definition. And sorry that I put it here, you probably know it better than me. But I wanted to read out loud that corporate social responsibility is a company's responsibility for its impact on the environment and society. So then I understood that actually in Biovala, we do things that fall under corporate social responsibility umbrella or this definition. Only it's not that we do business like build houses or bake cakes or I don't know, trim dogs, and then simultaneously look for solutions that would be environmentally friendly and would improve our business and gain us more profits. We decisively focus on improving the quality of the environment because we think that society has a responsibility to take care of the environment, and that's what we do. 2 minutes. As an example of our work, we participate in Fit2 Climate project. It's funded by European Union, and the long title says Clean Biofuel Production and Phytoremediation Solutions for Contaminated Lands Worldwide. If you want to get more information, you can follow the link. And in this project, there are more than 15 partners from all over the world, and Biovala was invited as an industrial partner, not because of our knowledge in phytoremediation, but also because we sort of started to commercialize this technology, and we wanted to do it not only on a country level, but European Union level, worldwide level. And here in the project, we grow plants on contaminated sites, and we provide it to our partners, and they make biochar or biogas, biofuel in general, from this contaminated biomass. And we want to remove demons and start utilizing biomass from contaminated sites because this is a way to utilize abandoned and marginal lands that for the time being cannot be used for food production, but we say that, hey, it can be used for other purposes, and simultaneously let's clean it up until we can grow food there. And on this note, here comes our last slide, some of our bigger partners, link to our webpage, contact emails, and some glimpse of our work. Thank you for your attention, and don't hesitate and ask questions, comment, everything is welcome. Okay. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you very much, Alfreda, for your presentation. And now we came to an end. So I would like to say thank you again for all the participants, both online and offline, especially for those who organized this event, namely Research Council of Lithuania, Research Council of Lithuania, NCP Network, Institut Français, Lithuania, and Lithuanian FDI Liaison Office in Brussels. And again, this event was organized in the context of French presidency for European Union. The topic was climate change in the framework of European Union mission. So thank you all and everyone now who is here face to face. I strongly encourage you to join everyone in the coffee in the lobby. Thank you again. Goodbye. Oh, wow.
Goodbye.
Goodbye. Thank you very much to all speakers.
Yeah. We'll get in touch later on maybe.
Yes, of course. Thank you.